Hey, good evening, folks. I know Lance says I promised some good entertainment. If you look carefully at what I said, I did not promise that it would be good entertainment. I asked him if he was looking forward to some good entertainment. Didn't tell him he was going to find it here. You never know, though, what you might find here when you show up on a Wednesday night. Hey, there was a lot of chat there before we got going, which is always fun to see. Nice to see everybody interacting with one another online. That's part of the reason we want to provide a format like this for you as well. Just an opportunity to touch base and say hello. There is so much stuff here. Hopefully I catch all of you guys. Lan, it is good to see you this evening. Meg, you're here. I see that. Peggy Ruski. Peggy, good evening to you. Kathy, good to see you and Rich with us this evening. Barb Knapp, welcome to tonight. Meg, I see you're with us. Let's see if I missed anybody that is commented here this evening. Meg, Lan, Meg, Peggy, Kathy, Barb, Lan, Kathy, Meg. Okay, I think we got everybody who has commented at this time. So welcome. I hope you guys are having a good week. As all of you are aware, the wind is blowing outside, which is ushering in a cold front, which Lan so nicely reminded us of in his first comment here this evening. We'll all be well aware soon enough that the cold is coming. It's unavoidable here in Minnesota. Hey, a few announcements. First one, I just want to make sure it's clear. You know, every 2 weeks, the women have been doing their Zoom Connect on a Thursday night. Typically, that would be scheduled for tomorrow night, but because of the MEA break from schools, we're going to take a break from that. All of our programs are kind of taking a break this week. So the next Women's Connect will be 2 weeks from tomorrow, which is October 29th. So October 29th will be the next Women's Connect, and hopefully you can join us and be a part of that as well. Also, All Saints Day is coming up on November 1st, so if you haven't got a photograph in of your loved ones to be included in the video montage of our friends and family members who are no longer with us, if you could get that into the office by Friday, that'll give us time to pull all of those together and create a nice video montage to show on that Sunday in worship. And so we really encourage you to do that. We want to be respectful and take time to honor those who have gone before us, the generations that have shaped us, molded us, influenced us to be the people that we are here today. Also, just a quick note, Red Cross Drive is coming up Thursday, October the 22nd, so I want you to be aware of that as well. Also, this past Saturday, we had this fine group of people here at the church. They were filling baskets for RHCI, or baskets. Those are not baskets. Goodness me, those do not look anything like baskets. Those are barrels. Those are barrels that will be shipped in the coming weeks to Sierra Leone. And we are glad to be able to continue to support the ongoing ministry of RHCI through the church. The folks in Sierra Leone many of them are hurting right now. Many are unemployed still because of COVID. And thankfully, the folks at RHCI were still able to fully employ, but in the general population, there is a lot of pain and suffering right now because they don't have the same kind of infrastructure and support that we have here in the United States. So what we can do to help makes a difference, not just for RHCI, but in turn then for the greater community as well. Also, the blanket making donations are due by Saturday, November 21st. Again, that's in the newsletter this week too. And the Furthering Our Focus, the virtual fundraising event for Rural Healthcare Initiative is coming up on November 1st. So hopefully you guys can be a part of that too. A couple of prayer requests that we have. Karen Paulson is having carpal tunnel surgery coming up on October 16th, this coming Friday. So keep Karen in prayer as she goes through that. I know that from folks who have been through that, it's a good surgery to have once you have recovered from it. So we will be praying for Karen. Also, continued prayers for all the folks that are dealing with COVID. We can see the spikes coming across our nation, indeed all around the world. Back home in Northern Ireland, we learned today that starting on Monday, all the schools are going to be closed for 2 weeks. And starting on Friday, all the restaurants are going to be closed for everything except for takeout because they've had a huge spike. And so they're trying to nip that in the bud and stem that. So that's a challenge as well. One of our church members is going to be retiring at the end of this year, Sue Yearsley. And with that, Sue is going to be stepping down from serving as clerk of session. That means that First Presbyterian Church is going to be in need of a new clerk of session. So if you can think of somebody that has some good administrative skills, can commit to maybe about 4 hours or so a month, a couple hours for the meeting, a couple hours for planning, that would like to be a part of our leadership team and helping keep our records straight for us. If either you would like to do it or you're aware of somebody, please let us know at the office so that we can get in touch with them or with you directly. It's an important piece of what we do here as a congregation. I want to move on now then to our little thought for the week. Every once in a while, I come across a book that I pick up, I read it, and it challenges me in ways that I was not expecting. Challenges me in ways sometimes that don't feel particularly welcome because it creates a discomfort in my own life. It messes with my equilibrium. But ultimately, I find that those are the best kinds of books to read. And recently I read a book called Who Will Be a Witness? Igniting Activism for God's Justice, Love, and Deliverance by Drew Hart. Drew is a college professor, and this is a book that since I read it, and I had the privilege of writing a review for it for the Presbyterian Outlook magazine, which it's not been published yet, but waiting for that to be published. I was happy to be asked to review this book, but it challenged me on so many levels. And one of the things that Drew does in it is he looks at Christian activism through a biblical lens in the first couple of chapters. He looks then at the issue of white supremacy and how we got there through Christendom and the journeys of Christopher Columbus and his impact on the New World and some of the pieces around that before moving into a series of chapters looking at specific issues. One of the things that really struck me is that he went back to the early church to look at the issue of economic justice, to look at the issue of poverty and how we relate to poverty. And one of the things he's very quick to point out is that in the early church, we didn't have systems of capitalism or socialism. Those economic systems that we're aware of today had not been founded, they had not been rounded out. And so when we look at what the early church fathers say, we can't put them into those kinds of neat categories, which was very helpful. But then he quotes from some of those early church fathers. And really, I think the words of these folks challenge us tremendously here when we take an honest and long, hard look at the scriptures. And I'm sorry if you're trying to watch this on a phone because it's really pretty small print here. He quotes from Ambrose, and Ambrose says, and Ambrose was the Bishop of Milan, just so you know, and was a very instrumental leader in the church at the time. And Ambrose said, "You are not making a gift of your possessions to the poor person. You are handing over to him what is his. For what has been given in common for the use of all, you have arrogated to yourself." What a powerful statement there. That God has given all that we have in the earth for the use of all. Or Basil of Caesarea, writing around 330 AD, again, a very instrumental figure in the life of the church at that time. He says, "The bread in your cupboard belongs to the hungry man. The coat hanging in your closet belongs to the man who needs it. The shoes rotting in your closet belong to the man who has no shoes. The money which you put into the bank belongs to the poor. You do wrong to everyone you could help, but fail to help." That kind of sends shivers down my spine when I read that because it's terribly convicting. And then Irenaeus, writing somewhere around 160 AD or so, just about 100 years or so after the life of Christ, he said, "Instead of the tithes that the law commanded, the Lord said to divide everything we have with the poor." You see, we tend to operate with a mindset that is all about us. We tend to operate with a mindset of private ownership. We tend to operate with a mindset of individual rights. That's the way we were raised. But that's not the way the world has always seen things. And so when we hear those kinds of quotes from the folks in the early church, they have in mind the words of the psalmist, who said, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it." They had no concept of the idea of it belonging to them, of it being theirs in the first place. They saw people who claimed it to be theirs as being selfish and hoarding it because they saw everything as belonging to God, and therefore everything belonged to the community and was supposed to be used for the good of the community. I think it's a challenge for us sometimes to break out of the dualistic mindsets that we have in our culture: socialism, capitalism, communal rights, individual rights. We tend to bifurcate everything. But I think there's a better way. I think there's a third way. And that's the way that God offers us. God calls us to be his witnesses in this world, to accept the challenge of taking care of humanity. For we bear the image of God, but then so does everybody else. What are we going to do with the responsibility that we have? You know, when Basil of Caesarea says that the coat in our closet, that the shoes in our closet don't belong to us, or they're rotting there when they could be used for the poor, I'm mindful that this time of year we are moving into those cold weather temperatures. This is a really good time for us to go through our closets. Take a look and see, do I have an extra coat that I don't wear, but I keep around because maybe it's fashionable, maybe I might wear it sometime this winter? You see, there are people right now in homeless encampments in Minneapolis. There are people that are staying through the Union Gospel Mission. There are people at Salvation Army centers that could use that coat right now. Are we holding on to something for a maybe and a might when somebody else might have great benefit from it now? I would challenge all of us in the next week or so, let's go through our closets once again. Let's take a look at the possessions in our house and ask ourselves, are we holding on to these for a rainy day? When in actual fact, if that rainy day came, we could go buy ourselves another coat. We could go buy ourselves another pair of shoes if we needed them. When we could actually be giving those to somebody else who could make use of them and benefit greatly from them right now? Are we holding on to stuff that we don't need to? You know, last winter, I remember a time when somebody walked into the church office. And this man arrived in the middle of winter, and he didn't have a coat to wear. And so one of our staff members took his coat and gave his coat to that man. You see, we can afford to give away the things we have. We can afford to be generous. Folks, as we move into this cold season, let's be generous with what we have. Let's make sure that people are housed, that people have warm clothes to wear, that they have shoes to put on their feet, that their kids are able to get warm meals. Let's continue to support the work of the Maria Sandvig house that we do with our blanket making. Let's continue to support the work of the food shelf. Let's continue to be God's people in this world today. I hope you guys all have an amazing and a blessed week. And I can't wait to see you again on Sunday morning when we gather to worship. But until then, be safe, continue to serve God well, and be generous in all that you do. Peace.